Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Hi guys, this is a continuation of the Tefsir of the last verse of Surah An-Nas.
من الجنة والناس.
In this video, we're going to be talking about the human and shaitanic enemies, their differential treatments. One may have some enemies from mankind and some from shaitanic origin. The Holy Quran has directed us to deal with these two kinds of enemies in different ways. Ibn Kathir, in the preface of his commentary of the Holy Quran, has cited 3 verses of the Holy Quran pertaining to this subject. All 3 of them have 2 parts. In the first part, Allah has instructed man to treat his human enemy with kindness, politeness, patience, mercy, and compassion. If he does not desist from these evil ways, then jihad is prescribed in other verses. We need to wage armed struggle against the devilish elements of human society. But the only way to resist the shaitanic enemy is to seek refuge with Allah. Now, the first verse to this effect is in Surah Al-Harf, which is Quran chapter 7 and is in verse 199. It means, take to forbearance and beat the fair and ignore the ignorant. This pertains to defense against human enemy. In other words, we need to grant courteous allowance for his offense, bid him to do good and forego revenge against injustice he might have committed. We must be easy in dealing with him and avoid causing him difficulty. This injunction is defense against a human enemy and must be carried out in the first instance. But the next verse, Quran chapter 7 verse 200 of the same surah, pertains to the shaitanic enemy as follows. And if you are stricken with a strike from the shaitan, seek refuge with Allah. Surely he is all hearing, all knowing. In other words, if an evil suggestion comes to us from the shaitanic enemy, then we need to seek refuge in Allah. The second verse is in Surah Al-Mu'minun, which is Quran chapter 23, verse 96 to 98. It says, repel evil with that which is best, and say, O my Lord, I seek your refuge from the stroke of shaitans, and I seek your refuge from that they come to me. In the first sentence of these verses, the direction is given to repel the evil caused by human beings with good behavior. But when it comes to repel the evil caused by shaitan, the direction given is to seek refuge in Allah. The third verse dealing with the same subject is Quran chapter 41 verse 34. It says, repel evil with what is best, and you will see that the one you had mutual enmity with him will turn as if he were a close friend. This part of the verse directs how to repel the evil caused by human enemy. If we repel evil deed with a better deed, it would be possible for us to win over our human enemies, and they would become our most devoted friends. As opposed to a human enemy, the other part of the situation is contained in the next verse, 36. It deals with the slinking devil who is invincible but effective in his attack. The verse reads, and should a stroke from shaitan strikes you, seek refuge with Allah. Surely he is all hearing, all knowing. The wordings of this verse are more or less the same as they occur in Surah Al-Araf. In other words, if an evil suggestion comes to us from the shaitan, we are required to seek refuge in Allah, because that is the only defensive weapon against the invisible, sly, and cunning enemy. In sum, all 3 sets of verses discussed earlier enjoin that a human enemy needs to be treated at first kindly, politely, patiently, and compassionately, because human nature was in the primordial state created uncorrupted, and as such, kindness, politeness, mercy, and pardon could subdue him. However, human beings who have lost their primordial states of innocence and are deeply sunk in the ocean of ignorance, the passions and the vices of the lower self or base self drag man downwards away from Allah. Some have become infidels, unbelievers, or tyrants. They have therefore become frontal enemies and come out armed with weapons of war to wage a frontal combat against the disbelievers. The Quran prescribes in other verses that such human enemies should be repelled by force of arms. Unlike the accursed Shaitan, he is evil in his primal nature, and as such, kindness, compassion, and pardon does not bring a good effect on him. It is also impossible to have an armed conflict with him. So the only defense against such an enemy is the celestial weapon of the Qur'an, Allah's remembrance, and Tahawud, seeking refuge with Allah, with which the entire Quran is replete, and the Quran appropriately ends with it. Moreover, while dealing with a human enemy, a believer is never a loser. If he overcomes the enemy and prevails upon him, his victory is obvious. If the enemy overcomes him or even kills him, then too he will attain high rewards and a high degree of martyrdom in the hereafter, which is far better than any worldly attainment. In other words, if a believer is defeated by a human enemy, he has not lost anything, nor is he harmed in any way. But the case of the Shaitanic enemy is totally different. It is sinful to flatter him or please him. And if someone is defeated by him, it is to destroy his entire future and the hereafter. This is the reason why the best defensive weapon against him is to seek Allah's refuge. This celestial weapon is so powerful and potent that all shaitanic guile and treacherous cunning or craft are rendered weak and ineffective. The guile of shaitan is feeble. On account of the reasons given earlier, it may not be misunderstood that fighting the shaitan is difficult. To dispel this misunderstanding, Allah said, "No doubt the guile of shaitan is feeble." That's in Quran chapter 4, verse 76. It is further clarified in Surah An-Nas, verse 98, 99, and 100 that, "So when you recite the Quran, seek the protection of Allah against shaitan, the accursed. He is such that he has no power over those who believe in Allah and place trust in their Lord. His power is only over those who befriend him and those who associate partners with him." Let's talk about the relationship between the prologue and the epilogue of the Quran. Allah prefaced the Quran with Surah Al-Fatiha, which began with his personal name. It further described his predominant attributes as being Rab, or maintainer of the universe, as being the all-merciful and the very merciful and the sole judge of right and wrong. It defined religion as being his worship alone and imploring him alone for help, all else being powerless in comparison. It further taught man to pray for true guidance so that he is able to find the right path and be established in it. He is taught to pray to be saved from being among those who are condemned and those who have lost the right path after having received it. These factors serve the purpose of man's success and prosperity in this world and in the next world, that is the hereafter. However, in the process of achieving this purpose, man is obstructed by the accursed shaitan. He lays various traps, inconspicuously utilizing people's different weak points, their sensual and unhealthy desire which he detects and exploits. The shaitanic traps and snares need to be shattered or broken to pieces. Seeking refuge in Allah is the only effective protection against these evil powers. That is why the Quran most fittingly hints on this. Jazakumullah khairan for listening and for watching.